Okay, ready to dive back into JavaScript.
Always.
Last time we got into manipulating the DOM, right?
Yeah.
Remember that? Like actually changing a web page with JavaScript. I thought that was so cool.
It is pretty cool, like being able to actually reach in and mess with things.
But how do those changes happen based on what you do on the website?
Right.
Like what makes it all work?
Events.
Oh, here we go. JavaScript events. I've heard the term,
Yeah.
but I don't really know what it means. So that's kind of the purpose of our deep dive today, right?
Absolutely.
To kind of demystify JavaScript events, to learn how we can use them to make, to make websites interactive.
Yes.
So what are JavaScript events, really, in a way that even I can understand?
Okay, so in the simplest terms, a JavaScript event is basically like a signal.
A signal.
Yeah, a signal that says, hey, something happened.
Okay.
And that something could be a user action, like clicking a button
Right.
or hovering your mouse over something or typing something in a field. Or it could even be something the browser itself does,
Ooh,
like
yeah.
the page finishing loading.
So like right now, technically this is a JavaScript event.
Well, yeah, in a way.
Wow. See, I'm learning already. I'm already feeling smarter. So it's
Yeah.
not just me like frantically clicking add to cart during a sale.
Nope.
That's actually like my browser sending a signal.
Exactly. That click is an event.
Hey, site, this user really wants that limited edition, whatever.
Exactly. It's like a communication system between you, the browser, and the website.
Interesting.
So think of it this way. Without events, websites would basically just be like boring brochures. Just static information,
Yeah.
Events are what let us use websites, make them do things, make them interactive and fun.
Okay, that makes sense. So it's like the difference between reading a pamphlet and actually like playing a game or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Okay, so how do we tell JavaScript what events to pay attention to? Like, how does it know what to do when I click that add to cart button?
That's where something called addEventListener comes in.
addEventListener.
You can actually like tell JavaScript, hey, when this specific thing happens,
Okay.
do that. So
Yeah.
you could say, when this button gets clicked,
Right.
show a message, or
Right.
when the mouse hovers over this image, change its color, or whatever you want, You define the relationship between the event and the action.
So that's how those cool effects on websites happen. Like when you hover over a button, it changes color. I always wondered how they did that.
Events.
Events.
Yeah.
Okay. There's code involved though, right?
There is code, yes.
Don't get too technical on me though.
No, we won't.
Just the basics.
The basics, yeah. You don't need to be a coding wizard to understand the concept.
Okay, good.
Just think of it visually.
Okay.
A line connecting the event to the action. That's the heart of it.
A line connecting the event to the action. Okay, I can visualize that.
There you go.
All right, I'm following you so far. But now I see this word in our outline. Event propagation. What in the world is that?
So event propagation can sound a little intimidating,
A little bit. Yeah.
but it's actually a pretty cool concept once you wrap your head around it.
Okay, let's try to wrap our heads around it.
Okay. Imagine like a company's organizational chart,
Okay. Yeah.
CEO at the top,
Yep.
managers below, then employees.
I'm picturing it.
And let's say an employee submits a proposal. It goes up through their manager, then their manager's manager, all the way to the CEO, right?
Right. Yep.
That's kind of like event bubbling.
Event bubbling.
The event goes up through the hierarchy of elements on the page.
So it starts at like the smallest thing you clicked and goes all the way up.
Yep, to the top of the structure.
Okay, I see that. But there's also capturing, right?
Exactly. Now imagine the CEO has a brilliant idea and wants to put it into action.
Okay.
They send it down through the chain of command, through the managers, to that same employee to execute it.
Interesting.
That's capturing. The event travels down through the elements from the top down.
So it goes down with capturing and then back up with bubbling.
You got it.
That feels like a long trip for one little click.
It does, doesn't it?
But why does the order even matter? Like, is it just a fun fact about JavaScript or what?
No, the order definitely matters because on a complex website,
Okay.
you might have multiple elements that could react to the same event.
Oh, I see.
And depending on the order, different things might happen.
Okay, can you give me an example?
Sure. Let's say you've got a drop-down menu on a website.
Okay, yeah, like a menu that drops down when you click it.
Right. And inside that drop-down menu,
Yep.
there's a button.
Okay, I'm with you.
If you click that button, you probably want the button's action to happen, right?
Yeah, like whatever that button is supposed to do.
Right. But if the event bubbles up to the drop-down menu first, It might just close the menu without triggering the button's action.
Ooh, right. That's happened to me before.
It's annoying.
Yeah, super annoying. Like, you try to click something in the drop-down and the whole thing just disappears before it works.
Exactly. So you need to control that flow.
Okay, how do you stop that from happening?
That's where stop propagation comes in.
Stop propagation.
Yeah, it's saying, okay, event, we've handled you here.
Okay.
No need to keep traveling up the chain.
I love that. That's a good way to think about it.
Right. It's like stopping a rumor before it spreads too far.
Exactly.
Oh.
This is making so much more sense now. Speaking of efficiency, our outline also mentions something called event delegation.
Oh, yes. Event delegation is a super handy technique.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What's the magic behind this one?
Well, remember that to-do list example from earlier?
Yeah, where the employee's like way down the chain of command.
Kinda, but this is a different kind of list, like a list of tasks on a website.
Okay, got it.
Instead of putting a separate event listener on each item in the list, which can be a lot of code,
Right, I see where this is going.
we can put one event listener on the entire list itself.
Okay.
And then use a little logic to figure out which specific item was clicked.
Ah, clever.
So we're doing more with less code.
Less code, same result.
Wow.
I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, what about those elements that already do something by default? Like if you click a link, it takes you to a new page. We don't have to tell it to do that, right?
Right. That's the default behavior of a link. Or a form. When you hit enter, it submits the data. Those are built in. But sometimes we need to override those default behaviors to make the website do what we want it to do.
I see. So it's like saying, thanks, browser, for the offer.
Right.
But I got this.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we actually do that?
With prevent default.
Prevent default. Another word for the glossary.
It's like, imagine you're about to trip,
Oh, no.
but you catch yourself at the last second.
Okay, phew.
Prevent default is kind of like that. It stops the default action from happening. So you could use it, for example, if you wanted to make sure a form was filled out correctly before actually submitting the data.
Oh, that's smart.
It gives you more control over the user experience.
So much control. I'm starting to feel like I could build my own website now.
Well, it takes time and practice, but understanding events is a huge step in the right direction.
I know, right? Before we wrap up, any other, best practices or hot tips to keep in mind when it comes to JavaScript events?
Absolutely. Remember event delegation?
Less code,
Yeah,
better.
exactly. Less code usually means better performance, too. The fewer event listeners you have, the faster your website will likely run.
Okay, that makes sense. Less is more.
And think carefully about where you put your event handling code. A well-organized code base is much easier to work with. But that's a whole other deep dive.
I was going to say we could talk about organization another time, but before we go, any final words of wisdom for our listeners?
Well, I hope this deep dive has shown you that JavaScript events are really the engine behind interactive websites.
They really are.
Once you understand how they work, it's like you can see the matrix.
Whoa.
You start to understand how all the pieces fit together.
Yeah, I know, right? It's amazing how much is happening behind the scenes of something as simple as a click.
Right. So much going on behind the scenes.
Well, that was fascinating. I learned so much today.
Me too, actually.
And speaking of learning, next time on our deep dive, we're going even deeper into JavaScript with prototypes and inheritance.
Ooh, getting into the advanced stuff.
How does that even connect to what we talked about today, though?
Well, think about all those complex interactions we've been discussing with events and functions and all that.
Okay, yeah.
They're often built using objects and inheritance. It's like learning the building blocks of really sophisticated web experiences.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection. So listeners, here's your homework for the week. As you're browsing your favorite website, see if you can spot where event propagation, delegation, or even prevent default might be at play. It's like a secret decoder ring for understanding how websites really work.
I love that analogy.
Until next time, keep coding.
Keep coding.
And keep learning.
Always be learning.